to the world. Subscribe now to the Hot 97 YouTube channel. It's Ebro in the Morning with Laura Stiles and Rosenberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, back on the program. Ebro in the Morning, Laura Stiles, Rosenberg. Give it up, Cory Booker on the program. What's happening, man? How are you?
Always good to be back. Last time we talked, we said we were going to get together in the studio, but that was pre-COVID, and
that didn't work out. That didn't work out. So first things first, I wanna delve into what happened with Biden as the Democratic nominee for the party. He had a public gaffe. He's not unfamiliar to public gaffes. He was in an interview, and at the end of the interview, in a cheeky, as he described, cavalier way, said, "If you have a problem deciding between myself and Trump, then you ain't black." What does Cory Booker have to say about that?
Look, he acknowledged it was wrong and gave an apology. And let me just say, that's something these days when a person of his stature says he apologizes, because clearly the current occupant of the White House is incapable of doing that, saying he's sorry, saying he's imperfect. And for me, he made a mistake, but then it was really refreshing that he came right back and took responsibility for it and said he was wrong. And
now, you know Joe Biden very well?
Yeah, I know him very well.
He seemed very comfortable saying that. Like, it's not the first time he or his surroundings has made, because Trump, we know, is an open racist. Like, it's common. He's aligned with white supremacy. He's a racist. Is this a conversation that you've heard, not that you've heard Biden have, but is this a conversation that people are having? Because we have it. I just don't know if they're having it on Capitol Hill about black voters going with Biden. With Trump.
Well, look, all of us have heard it amongst black folks about, like, the question is, how can you support someone that did what he did to the Central Park Five? How could you support someone that did what they did to Barack Obama, questioning that he was even born in this country? How could you do what you did to someone who couldn't condemn Nazis? How could you do, we could go through the litany that makes some black folks say to other black folks is, how can you support a guy that is racist? Mm-hmm. And so I understand that conversation amongst black folks. And, but, Vice President Biden said it was a poor attempt at a joke. I don't think that's something he says in regular conversation. I think as he said, he was trying to be cavalier, and he stepped up and did, and I don't mean to make this a gender thing, because I think it's both sides, but, my parents raised two black boys, and they said, when you're wrong, one of the most, and everybody is wrong. All of us stick our feet in our mouth. I've been in public life, and there's a whole lot of times where, especially when I'm trying to make a joke, that I say something stupid that comes out wrong and insensitive. And what my parents taught me is what it is to man up and say, I was wrong. That takes actually a lot more courage and shows your character. So this is who we have in Biden versus Trump, who, when he says something straight up racist that causes pain, that he can't even acknowledge that he was wrong or imperfect. And so to me, that was a sign of character that he has. And over his career said, I got that one wrong. I made a mistake. I said something wrong. And by the way, any of us who think we are immune, if we had a microphone in our face for most of our lives, as Vice President Biden has, that is going to have a perfect record of never saying something.
Oh, of course. Yeah, and
so
I think Biden's apologized several times.
Yes.
Look, I like Biden. I don't have any problem saying that I'm voting for Biden. That's not a problem for me. But I do know that Biden has a history of public gaffes. Like, it's well documented, where he gets comfortable, or, like, as you said, goes for a joke or something like that. Or, we've even seen other cases that are, where Biden has just basically lied about some of his history. And, that doesn't make me dislike the guy. I think he's a human, and I think he's oftentimes gunning for office and trying to get in office and oversells it. I know I've seen people do that before. I just wanted to know how you felt as a black man when you saw a presidential candidate say something like that in public. Did you, were you taken aback by it? Me personally, I laughed. And the reason I laughed is because I know that is a conversation that many people are having in private, which is also why I asked you about it. And I just see Biden hanging around with his old black friends and hanging out with Barry O. And that joke came up, and he thought he could let it fly because he's comfortable and somewhat privileged in his role, and he let it fly, and the internet gave him the business.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I've been around folk where you see all the women make the joke, and if a guy tried to make the same joke,
of course,
forget it. LGBTQ jokes. If you try to make that joke, forget it. So I don't know what made him in a very comfortable moment. The interview was over. You heard the person.
Charlamagne was done.
It was done, and then he makes news as he's walking out. But let me say something else. I mean, this idea that Biden, lies before about his career. We literally have a president where, like, the Washington Post has documented thousands.
Oh, it's not even a comparison. That's why I don't have a problem voting for Biden. I don't have a problem voting. It's not even in the same. It's not even in the same conversation.
We're all on the same page.
Yeah, it's not even a debate of who lies more or who is more sinister with their lies.
But the problem, Senator Booker, that the thing that freaked me out about Friday is that conversation was so big, and it does potentially lead to, when people catch wind of it, maybe they're less excited, less motivated about Joe Biden, when the reality is we are dealing with a president whose policy right now, specifically around COVID-19, when you talk about the implementation of racism, you're talking about people of color dying at a disproportionate rate, not being cared for the way they need to be and the way they should be as Americans. And now we're all caught up in a conversation about sort of a gaffe. But does it concern you at all that there may be people who take that and go, I don't know if I'm going to rush out and vote for Joe Biden now?
Yeah, well, I don't look. You put your finger on it right now, right? Like, this is my issue. Let me just go through more detail than maybe normal. Look, we have a Department of Education, right, with Betsy DeVos. She completely savaged the Civil Rights Division. So where Obama was in there, Biden were in there using the Department of Education to use the Civil Rights Division to go after the disparate detention and discipline policies in schools. That was all pulled back. We have a Justice Department right now that shooting of unarmed black men. The Obama-Biden Justice Department was out there holding police departments accountable. I was a mayor of a city, that black mayor, black city, we thought we were doing a good job. Obama-Biden's Justice Department came in, pulled all our data, did a deep analysis. We didn't even have the capacity to do it, to show the disproportionate stops of African Americans, and helped us fix it. So I could go through all the areas where the Obama-Biden White House, on issues of race, life and death issues of race, they were working on, that this president has turned their back on. So if you're a person in America, I'm not even gonna say a black person, you just care about justice and equality under the law, there is no comparison. If you care about those issues, you shouldn't go vote. You should run and vote for Joe Biden if those issues are important to you. And so I'm going to talk this whole campaign to folk of all backgrounds who care about equality, who care about justice, who care about, what the SBA law. I could go through the different programs that the Obama-Biden White House was working on to make sure their equality, access to capital, access to, right now, they've eviscerated programs that help black businesses get government contract, eviscerated them. And so I don't, if you care about those issues, you should be sprinting to vote for Joe Biden. Just no even question in my mind. Now,
right, but see, here's we talked about this earlier, and hopefully I get to have a conversation with Biden. I don't know. We're in New York City on a local station. And a lot of those things happening on the national syndicated shows. But my problem is this. The idea that having the black vote helps you seal the presidency for Democrats is so important, right? But when it comes time to actually detail what exactly do you have planned, what we saw was Biden go, come on, man, you see what I'm doing. Come on, man. And it's like, no, come on, man. If it's that important, give out the detail.
Right. And the only thing I'm going to say is, look, I went on that show my first week of being a candidate, And I still remember he asked me straight up, what are you going to do for black people? And I was sort of so stammered. I didn't have myself well practiced. I could have riffed off. I've done everything from sickle cell research. I could go through the things that I have done and I plan on doing, but I muffed that answer. So what I know is I know Joe Biden. I know his policy team. I know what he's done. I know what he will do. And by the way, I've had constructive critiques of his career. But I know this team right now. And as an African-American, forget as a senator, forget as a Jersey boy, just as a guy who's worked my whole career from the time I was working in East Palo Alto area in California with just black youth. These justice in America is my issue, equality, justice, opportunity. And I am celebrating doing backflips of excitement about what the Joe Biden presidency is going to be about, especially knowing that this guy recognizes, in fact, his whole primary, the pivot point was the African-American vote. And so I am confident that this guy is going to be one of the most successful presidents when it comes to issues of equality and justice that we've had, period, hands down, because I know the man, I know the people around the man, and I know the passion he has for these issues. So I'm all in, and I'm a guy, again, that I'm going to run around this country talking to all voters, but I'm going to everywhere from Detroit to Milwaukee, if we can travel again, to talk to African Americans, especially in key demographics, to let them know the truth. Because I've sat in those barbershops. You all have. I've sat in those conversations. I've sat around the dinner table with my family and family friends where somebody inevitably says about Obama, what did Obama do for black people? You know, it's these conversations that come up from time to time.
And that's because oftentimes it's hard to see. It's
Right.
hard to see the progress. It's
Right.
hard when, and that's because of a level of ignorance about how federal government transcends down to the local level and what that, and people are getting a firsthand account if they're paying attention to how bad shit could actually be when the tone and the people running the federal business don't give a shit about you and don't give a
Right.
shit about the most of the population of the country.
Look, I know this because do the people in the barbershop know that when I got to Washington, sickle cell funding and research was so disproportionate to other conditions and diseases that had affected less people? No, we got that raised. Do people know it? No. Does the sickle cell community know it? Yeah. Do folks know that when I got down there, you know, there was not enough people of color hired on Senate staffs and worked with Chuck Schumer and others to massively change that? No. So a lot of things happen on the federal level that do make a difference, but it's not the kind of things that we can riff off because we feel them in the community where things often don't change enough. But when I was mayor of this city and had Obama and Biden as president and vice president, when we needed something for Newark, like we doubled the production of affordable housing in Newark during a recession because I was relying on a president that believed in affordable housing. Now that might not be something that people remember or recognize, but when I have a Biden president in the future and affordable housing and the rent's too damn high, I'm telling you right now, more than this president who doesn't even recognize that as an issue, is going to do something tangible that's going to make a difference in people's lives.
Vice president, who's he going to pick?
Man, I serve with those folks. Like most of his list are my colleagues and friends. And so I celebrate the fact that he's got a lot. Like, I don't think there's ever been a point in history where this many qualified black women have been under consideration.
But will he pick one?
Look, I'm going to tell you right now, he knows how important the vote of African-American women. They are the most loyal demographic to the Democratic Party. Nobody has a higher voting percentage than African-American women. And I know he knows that this election could turn on the African-American vote. So I'm confident that he knows that, and that's a part of his consideration. And I'm confident that he's going to pick the right person to win.
Who do you want?
And real quick, Senator, have we landed in a place now though where like the racial politics are so strong that if he does not pick an African American woman, he will almost be maligned for it, and it will be a fail?
Because those are the conversations that I'm seeing on social media.
Like he has to,
else.
is what it sort of sounds like to some degree.
Well, the black women he does.
Well, first of all, you guys are
for me, I'll tell you like this. For me, he does.
Oh,
I
so
don't
does
want
that-
I don't want Klobuchar.
So if he picks
Neither
Elizabeth
do I.
Warren, you'll be less interested in voting for him?
I'll be disappointed. I'm gonna vote for him. I've already said that. I've already made. There's two choices. I'm gonna vote for him, but I'll be very disappointed, and I'll definitely hold it against him for sure. Especially when there's, as you just said, Cory Booker, the list of qualified candidates are there.
All I'm going to say is this: I want to win, and I think that they have a team of people that are going to be looking around and figuring out what their best pathway to victory is. And they're going to make a very tough decision amongst amazing women and choose the best pathway to victory.
Man, Cory, you know, man, them is your people, man. Come on, man. You're like one of the most high profile senators at this point in time, man. You're gonna be the next, what is it called, the speaker of the whatever.
Speaker
No, Ebro, let me break it down to you. I hurt. I'm going to tell you this right now. I hurt. I'm running for president myself,
Right.
and I hurt when Kamala Harris dropped out. Like I got very angry in a lot of interviews and said it's just wrong that Kamala's dropping out before a vote is cast. My women in my family who were supporting me were upset that Kamala had to drop out because she's an extraordinarily great woman. Stacey Abrams. I always say about Stacey Abrams, that woman is anointed. I mean, when you're around her, you see like God like shining light on her because she's that anointed. Some of the other Black women that have been mentioned, I can go through the congresswomen that are on the list. I hear Susan Rice is on the list, Val Demings, all incredible women. So I'm not telling you that I might celebrate and backflips depending on who's chosen. So I'm not taking that away. I'm just simply saying, man, he is in this crucible. The whole country, the whole world. This election is going to affect the planet Earth. When I talk to my peers around in countries across the world, I'm not being melodramatic. They are afraid that if Biden doesn't win, global climate change, peace in the Middle East, all
women's
of our
rights,
our problems are going to be there. So all I'm just saying is right now, I believe in the man, and I believe he will make the right decision. And whoever he chooses, I'm ready to that's at the time that we armor up. And it's now all out sprint to the end, a battle. I don't care. No time. If you're on this ship, celebrate whatever he chooses and let's go take the presidency. Because at the end of the day, what am I concerned with? I'm concerned with the results for issues I've been working on my whole life since I'm a teenager. And a lot of that is the cause of justice in communities like the one I'm sitting in right now. And getting this team in the White House, whoever it is the best thing I can do.
Well, Cory Booker, how does the economy play out? There's a stimulus package that's supposed to be coming down. Did the next one happen? That's another one is on the way? Yes.
We got another one, man. That is, we're on a recess week. We're not in Washington D.C. Mitch McConnell basically said, "Okay, let's go away from the week. The work we have here is now." That's ridiculous. New York Times editorial board took the Senate to task for not being down there. You know why it's ridiculous? Because right now, all over the country, government employees are being laid off. And when I say government employees, a lot of them are critical to this dealing with the coronavirus. Teachers' jobs, firefighter jobs, all these are in the balance right now.
States are running out of money. States are going bankrupt. They're headed towards bankruptcy. New York City is you can't operate New York City without balancing a budget.
Right.
We're cutting essential workers.
Yes, and I'm a sponsor of a bipartisan bill, not just a bunch of Democrats saying this is a bipartisan bill to get $500 billion to our states and local governments to help them out. And so why are we on recess right now? Why am I sitting in Newark and not in Washington, D.C., getting this bill across the finish line to get critical resources? Unemployment insurance is going to run out in July. We need to expand that as well. So there's a lot of critical things that we got to do that we're not doing right now, and I'm furious about it. So do we need to be working on this next package that the House has already passed? Yeah, hell yeah. This is not a partisan issue. I'm telling you right now, you talk to people who are actually running stuff. I had a press conference with bipartisan mayors about another infusion of resources to smallest of small businesses, 50 employees, 20 employees or less. And bipartisan. And I've got a bipartisan senator who wrote the damn thing with me. And we're not working to do this. So I'm angry about this fact that when people are hurting and people who are close to the ground, Republican and Democrats, see that and understand that we have to act. The chairman of the Federal Reserve said that America needs to do more injection of capital to stimulate and hold our economy together during this time. So this is not a partisan issue. These are experts, economists, mayors, governors of both parties saying the Senate should be acting, and yet we're now on recess. It's ridiculous.
Where do you think we stand as far as the next couple of months with COVID-19? Do you have concerns that things will open up too quickly and by the fall we'll be back in quarantine? How do you just generally feel about things?
So I always say I'm a prisoner of hope. I'm hoping for the best because the people who are dying and hurting are disproportionately the most vulnerable in our society, from the Navajo Nation to senior citizens to Black folks. So I'm hoping for the best, but hope is not a plan. All of us on this Zoom right now, we were raised by families that have seen crisis, and we knew it is better to be prepared for a crisis and not have one than have a crisis and not be prepared. So right now, we should be preparing for a crisis and doing the things necessary, and we're not. We do not have a president that believes, like other nations who've successfully dealt with this, that we need a coordinated national effort to do testing, contact tracing, change the supply chain and stop the vulnerabilities, but start to stock up on the things that we need, hiring an army of people around this country to better track and trace this virus. Those are the things that other countries have been able to do in order to prevent or at least to tamp down second waves. We're just not doing it. And this president is treating us like we're still under the Articles of Confederation, where a bunch of independent states are competing against each other for resources and supplies. So I'm definitely concerned, and I'm doing a lot right now as a senator, fighting for this next package that Mitch McConnell doesn't seem to think is urgent, to get things in that to help states have the resources necessary to prepare should another crisis come.
It sounds, look, for the rest of us, it all sounds like a lot of great talk, and I think everyone is getting frustrated. So it seems when I read the newspapers, and I agree. There's what's the actionable item? You know what I mean? You're frustrated too. Like the fact that you guys are not working on finalizing that this week and getting this across the line so that people can get money in their pocket and feel some sense of security it's a huge failure. Because the job is to make the population that pays taxes be able to access resources because they paid fucking taxes. Not have to wait a week or hear hemming and hawing and you know what I mean? And I think that's where the not only opportunity is for leaders like yourself or even Biden, is to get down to the nitty gritty of it, like what is happening, right? All of the political speak and double talk, and people don't have time. People are like, fam, it's 30. How many million people out of jobs? 30 what?
So let me tell you three things, because we all were taught, don't talk about it, be about it. So before you complain about the world, ask yourself a few questions. One, have I filled out my census?
Facts.
So we've been pushing that and talking about
Let's get to that census talk.
A lot.
The first question is have I and all the members of my family and my friend, if you are not out there, if your social media doesn't have one post about the census, you're part of the problem.
There you go. Talk to them. I like this.
You're part of the problem because you are surrendering political power. You're surrendering money for your neighborhoods. You're surrendering. Frankly, you are complicit in the efforts to discount, disregard, and degrade your own community.
Cory, let me ask you a question before we let you go. I know you got to go, but this is critical for my understanding and hopefully the audience. If Biden does have an agenda for black people on his website, money that he wants to go to HBCUs, et cetera, things that he wants to do, these are all his proposals. It's what he's proposing. None of this can happen. The money doesn't get down to the ground without information about what's needed on the ground, proper representation and proper information. The census plays a role in that, yes or no?
100%.
So for there to be an effective agenda that actually changes the reality for many of our neighborhoods and people who look like us, black people, you have to get the information so that the money can flow into the neighborhood, correct?
1,000,000% correct.
And if it doesn't happen this year, for 10 years, the information the federal government has access to about your neighborhood stays the same, which means if it's not correct, it still stays the same.
No, I want to go, it's worse than that, man. It doesn't stay the same, it gets worse. We are already undercounted. And if on this census, you have certain areas participating more, we'll be undercounted even more and more dilute the resources that come for us. So
which means money comes out of your check, goes to taxes.
Yes.
The federal government collects said money. The IRS ringing your bell. You got the payment plan. You're getting scared. You might go to jail if you don't pay. All that shit happens. Meanwhile, the government has your money. The money that's supposed to come back in doesn't come back, but they took it from you.
Yes. And can I just tell you, we get about 90 cents on the dollar that we should get. 90 cents. And you may not think that doesn't sound great, but look around at your roads, your bridges, your healthcare system, your schools. Just think what you would get if you got hundreds of millions of dollars more.
So is the problems at a Harlem hospital or a Lincoln hospital in the Bronx, these are city hospitals, the problems that they have, the underfunding, they're always trying to raise money, is that exacerbated by the fact that for decades we have not participated in filling out the census at the right tick that we should be to make sure that our schools, hospitals, and paving roads, potholes, whatever, is done correct?
Yes.
That there's a direct correlation there.
Yes.
So even if I vote the right person in for my district representative or city council or whatever, and they're beating on the door like, we need resources, it's like showing up to the accountant's office back here at Hot 97. You're like, yo, we need X, Y, and Z. They're like, well, we don't have that budgeted this year. Oh, well, sorry.
The formula that is used to give out these things is based upon population. If your population, New York, New Jersey, is undercounted by the millions, then we are shortchanged hundreds of millions of dollars.
And so how come when everybody's popping all that, we need an agenda, which always goes back to money, this never is said, hey, guys, we keep fucking up the census, bro. And so we can't access the dollars, even if there was an agenda, because those are just proposals. It doesn't mean they're going to get through.
Ebro, you, Styles, you guys are like, this is my favorite interview I've done because you're just saying it plain, using language that's plain, more plain than I can say.
Well, we've been talking about it over and over. Ebro's even checked all of us to make sure that we completed our own census, which we have.
I love you, seriously. We should do some kind of like something crazy that does break into the national news. I don't care what it is.
I just need more money back in my check for running this marketing campaign for y'all. That's it. Go check that box.
Listen, if you want national news right now, tell people if they don't listen to this show, they ain't black.
There you go.
Listen, I'm bringing you guys the best vegan pastries next time I come there.
That'll do it. There you go.
That's what we needed.
Thank you, Senator.
I got to run, fellas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Guys, I seriously, you guys are light in my life. I appreciate you. Appreciate every time you have me on and keeping it real with me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Appreciate you.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye.